What if Supernova in Godzilla X Kong Supernova isn't just a title, but a warning? Not about a new monster, not about another fight, but about something far bigger than anything the MonsterVerse has shown so far. Because if you look at how this universe has been evolving, nothing has ever been random. Every new concept, every new location, every new power has been building towards something. And Supernova doesn't sound like a creature. It sounds like an event. Something that doesn't just arrive, but happens. And once it starts, it can't be stopped. Because think about the direction the MonsterVerse has already taken. It started grounded. Massive creatures appearing in the modern world. Cities collapsing under their weight. Humanity struggling to understand them. Then it went deeper. Literally. The introduction of Hollow Earth changed everything. Suddenly, the planet wasn't just a surface battlefield. It was layered, ancient, filled with ecosystems that shouldn't exist. Powered by energy we don't fully understand. And that's the key. Energy. Because in this universe, Titans don't just exist. They feed, evolve, and adapt through radiation and unknown sources of power. Now take Godzilla. Every time we see him, he's stronger. Not slightly, significantly. He absorbs radiation, channels it, weaponizes it. His atomic breath isn't just a weapon anymore. It's starting to feel like a controlled release of something much bigger inside him. And if that energy keeps building, if it keeps evolving, then Supernova could be exactly what it sounds like. Not a star exploding in space, but something reaching a critical point of energy and detonating on a completely different scale. And here's where it gets even more interesting. Because a supernova in real terms is not just an explosion. It's the end of one state and the beginning of another. A transformation so violent it reshapes everything around it. So what if in the MonsterVerse, a supernova is a titan reaching that level, not just stronger than before, but something entirely new, something unstable, something that can't exist without changing the world itself? But if that's true, then the next question becomes obvious. Who? Because there are only a few candidates powerful enough to even get close to that kind of transformation. Godzilla is the most obvious one. He's already shown signs of constant evolution, constant adaptation, like he's not just surviving. He's progressing towards something. But there's also King Kong, who represents something completely different. Not raw radiation, but intelligence, tools, strategy. And if the MonsterVerse keeps pushing both of them forward, then Supernova might not belong to just one titan. It might be the result of a clash, a reaction. Two forces reaching their peak at the same time. And then there's the possibility that changes everything. What if Supernova isn't coming from Earth at all? Because the MonsterVerse has already hinted at something bigger than just the planet. The scale keeps increasing. The mysteries keep expanding. And once you introduce a term like supernova, you're no longer thinking about islands or hollow worlds. You're thinking about something cosmic. Something that doesn't belong to Earth's natural order. And if something like that is entering the system, then Godzilla and Kong aren't just fighting each other anymore. They're reacting to something far beyond them, which leads to a dangerous idea. What if Titans aren't the top of the chain? What if everything we've seen so far, every battle, every alpha dominance, every territorial war, is just a lower level of something much bigger? And Supernova is the first time that higher level becomes visible, not as a background force, but as an active threat. Something that forces Titans to evolve faster, fight harder, or risk being completely wiped out. And that would explain why the title feels so different. It doesn't sound like a sequel. It sounds like escalation, like the rules are about to change again. Because once you introduce something on that scale, you can't go back to normal Titan fights. The entire balance shifts. The hierarchy breaks. And suddenly, even the strongest creatures we've seen might not be enough. And if all of this is building toward a single event, a single moment where energy, evolution, and conflict collide, then Supernova might not be the beginning of the story. It might be the point where everything finally explodes. And if we follow that first direction, then the idea of a Godzilla Supernova stops sounding like a cool title and starts sounding like a countdown. Because the way Godzilla has been evolving doesn't look natural anymore. It looks accelerated. Every appearance, every fight, every surge of radiation pushes him further, faster, like something inside him isn't just growing. It's building toward a limit. And that's the dangerous part. Because energy like that doesn't just keep increasing forever. At some point, it peaks. And when it does, it doesn't stabilize. It releases. And if Godzilla is reaching that point, then Supernova might not be something he controls. It might be something he becomes. Because think about how his power works. It's not just strength. It's stored energy. Absorbed, compressed, contained. His body acts like a reactor, constantly taking in radiation and turning it into something more destructive. But reactors don't just get stronger without consequences. They overheat. They destabilize. They reach critical mass. And when that happens, it's not a controlled attack anymore. It's an event. Something that doesn't just hit a target. It affects everything around it. And if Godzilla crosses that threshold, then the battlefield isn't a city, or an ocean, or even Hollow Earth. It's the entire environment. And that changes how you look at him. Because suddenly, he's not just the alpha maintaining balance. He's a potential threat to that balance. Not intentionally. Not as a villain. But as something that has outgrown the system it was meant to protect. And that's where the tension comes from. Not can he win, but can he stay stable? Because if he can't, then every fight becomes a risk. Every power-up becomes a step closer to something irreversible. Now bring in the second direction. Because this is where it gets even more interesting. If Godzilla is evolving towards something unstable, then King Kong becomes more important than ever. Not as a rival, not even as an equal in raw power, but as something completely different. Because Kong doesn't evolve through radiation. He adapts through intelligence, through strategy, through understanding his environment. And in a world where power is becoming unpredictable, that difference might be the only thing that matters, because you can't outmatch a supernova with strength. You can't punch it. You can't overpower it. You can't outlast it. But you might be able to stop it, redirect it, or prevent it from happening in the first place. And that's where Kong's role starts to shift. He's not there to beat Godzilla. He's there to deal with what Godzilla is becoming. And that creates a completely different kind of conflict. Not a fight for dominance, but a race against time. And if you think about it, the MonsterVerse has been quietly setting that up, giving Kong tools, giving him intelligence, giving him the ability to interact with the world in ways other titans can't. He's not just reacting, he's thinking, planning, adapting. And in a scenario where raw power becomes unstable, that might be the only advantage that matters. Because when something reaches critical mass, you don't stop it with force. You stop it with precision. But here's the part that makes this theory actually scary. What if Kong doesn't fully understand what's happening either? What if he's not trying to stop a transformation, but reacting to something that's already to fuck on? Because if Godzilla crosses that line, if the energy inside him reaches that supernova state, then the outcome isn't just uncertain. It's uncontrollable, not even for him, and that turns the entire story into something else entirely. Not a battle between titans, but a situation where one of them might become the problem the other has to solve. And if that's true, then every moment leading up to it matters. Every increase in power, every sign of instability, every time Godzilla pushes further than before. It's not just escalation, it's build-up, because once something like a supernova starts, you don't stop it halfway. And if the MonsterVerse is really going in that direction, then the real question isn't who wins between Godzilla and Kong. It's whether there's still time to stop what's coming, or if they're already too late. And there's one more detail that almost no one talks about. Something small, easy to miss, but it changes everything if you think about it for more than a second. Because throughout the MonsterVerse, titans don't just appear randomly. They respond to signals, to imbalance, to changes in energy. They wake up, they move, they fight, but it's never truly chaotic. There's always a pattern behind it. Which means if something like a supernova is building, if that level of energy is starting to form somewhere, the other titans would feel it long before it happens. And not just feel it, react to it, which leads to a very different kind of scenario. Not Godzilla versus Kong, not even Titan versus Titan, but everything moving at once. Titans abandoning territories, shifting positions, acting out of sync with what we've seen before. Not fighting for dominance, but trying to survive something bigger than all of them. Because if a supernova level event is coming, then alpha status doesn't matter anymore. Strength doesn't matter. The entire hierarchy collapses. And when that happens, the world doesn't look like a battlefield. It looks like a warning. And that's where things get really unstable. Because if titans are reacting early, if they're already moving differently, then that means the process has already started. Not in the future. Not in the next movie. Now, quietly, in the background, building up while everything still looks normal on the surface. And that's the scariest part. Because when something is loud, you can see it coming. But when it's silent, you realize it only when it's too late. So now imagine this. Godzilla getting stronger, but not fully in control. Kong trying to understand something that doesn't follow normal rules. Titans across the planet reacting to a signal no one can see. And somewhere in all of that, the energy keeps rising. No pause, no reset, no balance. Just a steady climb toward a point no one has reached before. And if that's what supernova really means, then this isn't a fight. It's a chain reaction. Because the moment that energy crosses the line, the moment it stops building and starts releasing, it won't be about who wins anymore. It won't be about saving cities or stopping a titan or restoring balance. It will be about whether anything survives what comes next. And if even one detail in this pattern is true, if the titans are already reacting, if the energy is already building, if Godzilla is already changing, then the real twist isn't that a supernova is coming, it's that it might have already started. And no one, not even them, knows how to stop it.